Hello, I'm here with textile designer Helen Taylor. Welcome to Radiance.
Hi Fiona, thank you very much.
And for the listeners, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yes, I make hand knitted lampshades. I knit tubes of knitting in different yarns, and I try to choose my yarns to have the lowest environmental impact that I can. So I go for recycled yarns and silk and undyed linen and so on, rather than cotton, which has quite a high environmental impact from producing and processing the cotton. And yeah, my lampshades are quite unusual because they're sort of asymmetric and curvy in shape, because they've got a soft knitted textile cover which stays flexible. People think that it might be solid like other lampshades, but it's not. It's
curvaceous.
Yes, curvy and twisty.
Yes. How long have you been doing what you do?
About 18 months. What happened was that I had a corporate career. My previous career was in sustainability consultancy, so there's an environmental element there for me. But I realised that it wasn't what I wanted to carry on doing for the next however many decades I keep working, and I just felt there was more to life. I'd had this growing feeling, and one day I was in Edinburgh for work, and I was out buying a sandwich for lunch on the phone to my brother, and I just suddenly sort of burst out, "I'm creative! I need to get back to creativity," and it was like a eureka moment. And from then I realised, I need to change the direction I'm going. And I started to think about what I wanted to do, sort of get my hand back into creativity, which I hadn't been doing anything creative for sort of 10, 20 years.
Wow.
So
it's a brave step to kind of say, right, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to go back to what I love.
Yes, it was a brave step, but it was it wasn't like a choice. I felt that it was that or or die, basically. 40 years of oblivion. So it wasn't a hard choice to make, and it was kind of like coming home. It's definitely the right choice.
Oh yeah, definitely. So you've got an unusual name. Where do you get the name from?
The name O's, it's French for dare. It's not pronounced quite like that, but O's is French for dare. And the idea of dare was it's about, partly for me, daring to take that leap and go for what I really wanted, and partly about daring to choose a sculptural, unusual object to be part of your room, part of your space.
Yeah.
So sort of, because I personally love my lampshades.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, definitely. I think they're really unusual and curvaceous and just very feminine, but kind of goes into different shapes, isn't it? So
yeah, it's quite a strong shape.
It's quite versatile.
Yes. But it is unusual. The curves are unusual. They're sort of the natural curves that arise out of the textile cover. So maybe they're what would be mathematically described as perfect curves or something. I don't know, but they're not drawn curves, so they are quite organic, and I think they sort of punctuate a space, because a pendant lamp is hanging in the middle of a space, punctuates that space, and for me, I think that they're a good focal point.
Absolutely.
But it does take a little bit of daring to choose one of those as opposed to a high street ordinary shape. But once you go for it, you'll never look back. That's what I think.
When did you first come up with the idea to use the knitted material for your lampshades?
I needed a new lampshade for my bedside table, and I had an old lampshade frame, and I was looking. I'd looked in all the shops, and I hadn't found anything that I really liked, that caught my eye, and that was something a bit special. So I decided to use this old lampshade frame to make my own, and I actually the very first one was woven. So I stripped down the lampshade frame and then wove it with soft, fluffy wool. And in the process of that, I realised that I could mount the rings slightly skewed so that it would be asymmetrical. And when I'd finished it, I looked at it and thought, I really like that.
Yeah.
And so I got a good reaction from friends and family as well. People said, wow, that's fantastic. They sort of spotted it and noticed it. So I thought, okay, let's make some more. But I realised that knitting was actually although you wouldn't think it, it's a much quicker way to produce the fabric for the shade.
Yeah.
And it also, and crucially, it allows for better quality control, because you get the same result each time with knitting. It's a more controlled textile to produce.
So do you hand make every lampshade that's available at Radiance?
Yes, that's exactly what happens. I sit and knit away.
Wow. I think that's amazing that you actually handmade everything. I mean, I know we've had this big revival of like handmade products, and everybody loves that because they feel that it's been made with love. But it's just really good that you actually do all of them. When your business grows and you get you kind of sell quite a lot of lampshades, do you think you'll carry on? Do you think you'll kind of hire people to extend your knitting team?
Yeah, my hope is that as things get a bit busier, I'll be able to have a couple of local keen knitters who are happy to knit with me, and then we can work on different commissions and knit up different ranges, because I like developing new product ranges. At the moment I've got a neutral range which is made out of tussar silk and burette silk, two kinds of raw silk yarn. And I've also got a linen range which just has a slightly different look, but that can be dip dyed as well. So there's a neutral and a more colourful range. And as the winter comes on, I'm thinking of making things a bit more cosy, a bit more woolly perhaps. So yeah, my aim is to have a 2 or 3 hands on deck.
Yes.
Knitting the shades.
Many hands make light work.
Yes, exactly.
You were in The Independent recently when they were doing a feature on upcycling. Can you explain what this is about?
Yes, that was really exciting actually. And I was contacted by the journalist from The Independent and My Deco, she was writing about artists and designers who use products that have used materials that have already been used in a product in the past as part of their new designs. So it's reworking existing manufactured materials into a new design. It doesn't have to be something like plastic. It can be wood or whatever. But the idea is that instead of a product just going to waste, something that's been used before just going to landfill, it's reworked into a new product as part of something new. Some people might have heard the term pre-loved, which is a similar concept. It's about taking an old object and doing it up, maybe giving it a new cover, giving it a new lease of life, perhaps a new twist.
So what's the difference between recycling and upcycling?
That's a good question. Recycling it's really about reprocessing. So you take a material, maybe it's metal or wood or textile, paper, for example, and then you reprocess it, and that becomes part of the ingredients for a new product. So like with plastic bags, they will be they're plastic bags in their first life, and then somebody collects them all up, melts them down, and makes them into, for example, part of a new plastic bag or a plastic bottle, or maybe they're made into a park bench or something. But the key ingredient is the reprocessing part, which takes, generally it's some more energy to chop something up, melt it down, clean it up, whatever. Whereas upcycling is simply reusing the material generally in its existing form. So for example, with my lamps, when I used an old lampshade, I didn't have to melt down the metal and make a new frame from it. I simply reused the old frame, put a new cover onto it. So that's an example of upcycling. similarly with an upcycled base, I actually upcycled an old floor joist, an old pine floor joist, chopped it up, planed it down and made it into some lamp bases. So that's another example of upcycling as opposed to recycling, which would be reprocessing. I mean, there's a bit of a blur.
It's bringing the love back to something, but also as well, do you use recycled wool?
I use yarn which is made out of recycled. I've got a recycled cotton yarn and a recycled linen yarn. That's where the fibres aren't virgin cotton, brand new cotton. It's recycled cotton made into a new yarn, and similarly with the linen. So that's really that's something that I definitely like, because I like to avoid virgin materials if possible. If there's a recycled alternative, then I prefer that.
Everything's reusable.
Yes, I know what you mean. Sometimes it, particularly if it's what's known as post-consumer recycled, which means that it has been somebody else's jumper or a blanket or part of a curtain or something like that. But also there's a lot of waste material that comes from other manufacturing, and that can be classed as recycled material as well. It's not actually been in somebody's home, but it would otherwise have gone to waste. So again, there's the minimising the waste that goes to landfill.
Yes.
And also avoiding having to produce more materials, like do more growing, do more farming, do more fertilising, more agriculture. It's just making use of the odds and ends that would otherwise just go to waste.
Because I think, you started your business in the peak of the recession, and I think what the recession has taught us is to go back to basics and to use what we've got. And very much what you're doing is based on that, is using what we have, and the message is quite clear of, not wastage, kind of make it into something new. And I think that's why your products have a unique value to them, because they're not only different, and I haven't seen anything like on the market, they've also got all of those elements to it, which as a consumer makes me not feel guilty about buying your product. It's not harming anybody, it's actually helping, and it's actually using the materials of what from what we've already created, which is kind of very, very, it's just inspiring.
Thank you.
What else inspires you?
It sounds so trite, but nature. I've got a dog, and I walk her every day, twice a day, in the local fields and park. And since having given up office work, I think the main thing that inspires me is got back in touch with the seasons, and I'm so lucky that I get the opportunity to walk in the damp grass in the morning and not be in a hurry to catch a train or catch the bus to work or whatever. An inspiration really, because being out in nature, the colours, the way the greens change over the seasons, the way the light changes, the leaves are starting to fall, it's beginning of autumn now. I really find that wonderful. I love the environment, the space around us.
What do you love most about being a designer?
It's the freedom. I mean, it's not without its stresses. Being a designer, obviously, you're aiming to create something that not only you like, but other people will like as well, and ultimately to be able to earn money and make a living, and to make them on a bigger scale so that they can really have impact in bigger spaces. That is where I would like to go next.
Do like a big art installation?
Yeah, installation, for example, in an atrium or in somebody's hallway, but just something that is a real punctuation, like a people will really go stop there and notice it. Yeah,
fantastic. It's been lovely meeting you. I've really enjoyed it.
You too, Fiona. Thank you.
If you would like to know more about Radiance and its products, go to www.radiancelighting.co.uk.